all of the forks and spoons, recorded it. Put one package in a bag. It's somebody else's house in the back of their closet for something like 3 years. Didn't touch it. Put the second bag in the center of the PK party for quite a few years. Never opened it, never said what it was, but it was in the middle of the room with all this phenomena, theoretic phenomena. And then the others he used. And he tested before and after a PK party. And several years later, he took the bag that was always in the center, and he said, I've never seen such a weird expression from Jack Houck's face. He said, I took this, basically he couldn't explain it. He said, I can't explain what that was in the bag. It really wasn't metal anymore. It looked like metal, but it really wasn't. The compound had changed so dramatically from being around that stuff. And the packet that was in the other person's house in the back of the closet was as strong as when it started. So there is such a thing as psychokinesis phenomena. It does impact metal, and you'll have to come to an official PK party for the rest of that. Okay, but that's psychokinesis. Now, muscle testing or kinesiology. There are 14 main meridians, 7 basic chakras, and so you have your spin, and what I was told was the chakras are supposed to oscillate back and forth very quickly, but most people are so out of balance they do spin out of control one way or another. And then there's the projection, and there's the edges of the cone of energy. Sometimes they sparkle in or sparkle out, which is also distortions. And for those that are technically into chakras and meditation, with the meditation, with the chakras, there's 12 meridians that are bilateral. Meridians are energy flows like rivers of energy through your body, like the veins and the arteries pumping, carrying the blood, and you've got the lymph system and the blood system. This is an energy system, your meridians, and you've got 12 bilateral. So the stomach meridian, there's one on each side. Heart meridian, there's one on each side. Kidney, etc., etc. So you've got 12 of those, and some are light and dark, like yin and yang. 12 day light and 12 dark, like 12 hours of light and 12 hours of dark. And so when you start to study these things, you start to see your connection of your body and the body and how it works through the clock, and where we're traveling through with the planet around the sun. And as we have our day cycles and night cycles, and we start to basically see that, well, in kinesiology, there's a clock, and it shows when each acupuncture or acupuncture point, but the acupuncture points are like, if the meridian flow is like a freeway, then the on-ramps and off-ramps are like the acupuncture points. It's where the energy comes out or goes in. And so when you have a needle, acupuncture point needle, and you stick it in an acupuncture point, the needle acts like an antenna and either releases energy out if there's overstimulation in that particular flow and allows energy out, or it pulls energy in so that it strengthens that. And so it's not just the needle going in, but it's also the antenna sticking out of your body. How many of you have had acupuncture? Okay, great, great, great. It's a great thing. There's so many different things that can be done to balance out your system. So the chakras actually are like a clock, and they have 12, like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If you were looking at my heart chakra in a particular way, you would like look at a clock. And what Richard did was, after he developed a whole series of programs, he was dying at 28 years old. He was in the hospital for 6 months. They sent him home and they said, you have 3 days to die. Go die at home. He didn't. And he started going to all the alternatives, and he couldn't breathe, and he had all kinds, he was dying. And he called the hospital in Tucson, small hospital, in the middle of the night. I can't breathe, help, help. Don't call us anymore. You're dying. Face the facts, accept it. You will die. The hearse will come, take you away, bury you. That'll be the end of you. Don't call us anymore. Click. That saved his life.
That's a nice way to put it.
Because he got so angry. Yeah. All he wanted to do was get strong enough to go to his, Richard telling his story, he was funny. All he wanted to do was get strong enough to go to his closet, grab his 12-gauge shotgun, and blow open the doors to the hospital and blow this guy away. That kept him going for a year, that anger.
Wow.
And the first year it took him to stabilize, and the second year was healing. And the second year of healing, a lot of that time was in biofeedback and meditation, like 6-8 hours a day, because he couldn't do anything else. He was really, it literally took him a year to stabilize his health. And he was going to everything, from magnets to sound to primarily kinesiology, nutrition, everything. And then the second year he started getting downloaded, and he started looking at the emotions and the thought forms. And the emotions and thought forms are really part of the key to any type of healing. And because every molecule in the air that we're breathing is alive. Every molecule in the clothing that we're wearing is alive. It all has consciousness. To the ground that we're standing on, to the energy flow and the rain, it's all conscious. And part of psychic development is to get you to start to expand your awareness into what that consciousness is, so you can have a relationship and communicate with that oneness. And instead of looking at it as separate from you, to look at yourself as connected and as one, and there's no separation when you want. So for me, my intuition is like a radio receiver, and we have a two-way universe, this reality here, and there's a lot of realities happening simultaneously, but the one that we're talking about right here today is based on the law of duality. We have several principles that support our life here. So for every up, there's a
down.
For every in, there's a
Out.
For every right, there's a
Wrong.
Or right, there's a left. So and there is no wrong, but there is confusion. So we think we're on the same path, and all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, you said right, wrong, I said right, left. I didn't expect that. Okay. Or vice versa. And so communication, when we're going along, it starts when you move along the path. Sometimes what's true for you here is not what's true for you here. Things change. Your perspective changes. Robin Williams, God bless him, in Dead Poet Society, jumped on the top of a chair, on a desk, and he says, why am I standing on top of the desk? Well, because I'm getting a different perspective, and when you change your perspective, everything changes. And it was a brilliant scene. He had every student jump up on the table and just look, and the camera was just, wow, okay. And even I've done that. I was dating someone who's 6'4". I'm 5'3", and I remember one day I got a chair that was the difference in our height, and I put it up there, and I stood there at the sink, and instead of it coming here, it came to here. It's like, wow, he gets to see the world from here. It's different. It's really funny. Okay, and one day I was with a friend, and she's jumping, and in the kitchen, it was Thanksgiving, And I said, what are you doing? And she says, well, all of the relatives are 6'2" and above, and they look down at things that we look up at, and I just want to make sure that the top of the refrigerator doesn't need dusting. It was very pretty funny. He's like, what are you doing, jumping? And she's like 5'10".
I never saw it.
She was short to everybody else. Okay, so, and I don't have a, they're all up there. All right, so your perspective in life changes, and it's really important to change your belief systems from time to time. So the psychic ability, let's just talk about foundational stuff. So the foundation is, why am I here? And how do you know that? So the point was that duality is that there's two sides to everything. And so people think that psychic or intuition, for everyday people out there, they think it's random flashes of insight, right? And a lot of times people think, oh, I should have, I got the insight and I didn't pay attention. I knew that was going to happen and that kind of thing. Okay, so for me, it's not random. It's all the time. And I'm like a radio receiver, and so are you, whether you're turned on or not. And so you can have an on and off button, so you can turn it on when you want it. And you also have a station tuner. I almost did a dial. They don't do dials anymore. Station tuner to tune into the exact station or frequency that you want. And you have a volume, so you can turn it up or turn it down. So that's your receiver, and you also have a projector or a broadcast unit, so that when you want to send a telepathic message, or you want to, anybody into abundance or manifesting, setting goals, setting intentions, co-creating your reality, to me, all of this is part of your intuition and intuition power. And so by starting to work with developing your 5 senses, this is your physical body, which is your instrument. How many of you would like to be a channel? Okay.
I am.
Okay. How many people have tried to be a channel? Okay. I got news for you. Good news and bad news. Everyone is a channel already. It's not a matter of, are you a channel? It's a matter of, are you plugged in to what? What is the source? And so most people are plugged into their own subconscious patterns, which is just taking information and being stuck in that loop. And so what is a channel? It's like a hose and water goes through it. Or it's just a space that stuff goes through. So a flute would be considered a channel of air. Okay, and so you are your physical body, you're breathing, and when I move my vocal cords and move my tongue and my mouth, I make sounds, and we call it talking. So I'm channeling to you. So it's not a question, and when I'm moving and I say, I want to do this, or I want to do that, or that, I'm moving and I'm channeling energy and thoughts and ideas of Tai Chi or whatever it might be through my body. So it's not a matter, so the first thing to take you to the next level is to start to claim the fact that I am. I am a conscious channel right now. So then the second step is, how do you increase the capacity of your instrument, your physical body? So let's just say, what's it for? So if you all close your eyes for just a moment and just pretend with me that for just a moment, I'm going to ask you to ask yourself, where am I and how do I know that? So let's just pretend for a moment that you shut off your sense of sight, just for a minute. So your 5 senses sight. So now let's shut off your sense of smell, pretending that you're doing that. And now your sense of taste, no longer tasting the yummy lunch we just had. Okay. And now the sense of feeling, touch is gone. You can't feel the temperature, you can't feel your clothes or the chair. And now for just a moment, shut off your sense of hearing and ask yourself, where am I? Okay, and now, and how do you know that? And now turn your sense of hearing on better than before, perhaps, and turn back on your sense of touch and your sense of smell, your sense of taste, and your sense of sight. Open up your eyes and maybe have it all be better than before. So, where were you and how did you know that? Anybody? Yes.
In the here and the now.
You were in the here and the now. How did you know that?
It's the only place I can be.
How did you know that?
Because there's only the here and the now.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, it's kind of where you intend to be, right?
There's no right or wrong.
Well, I would say I was up here.
You're up kind of
And
above your head.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And how did you know that?
Because that's where I was.
Because that's where you was.
Intending.
Yeah, right. You're intending.
And then that's where I saw. Yeah.
Okay. And thank you.
I also felt a spaciousness. That's where.
Okay. I felt a spaciousness. So you use the word felt. So
It's not really feeling.
it's not a feeling, right?
No, it's not.
Right. Thank you. So my point is, our five senses, seeing, tasting, touching, smelling, hearing, is what our physical body gives us, and it anchors us in the present moment. Without the five senses, how do we know? Where are we? Hard to tell. Okay. So God bless Helen Keller for her miraculous genius and strength of character.
How did she know?
Good question. I don't know. You have to read the book.
Oh,
Okay, so there is knowing, and there's knowing versus thinking. That's a whole other course. Okay, so the five senses is what anchors us here and now, and our intuition, that having that capacity to turn it on and off and have it be proactive, is important for us to use our five senses, because not everybody's intuition works the same, or ESP. People think ESP is extra sensory perception. I look at it as expanded awareness is the E, not extra, but expanded awareness, balanced sensitivity, and refined perception. So ESP is expansion, expanded awareness, balanced sensitivity, and refined perception. And the way that a lot of people teach exercises, they don't do the clearing the physical body through your nutrition, through your exercise and movement, through your breathing, which is moving energy. Do you realize that form follows structure, or structure follows form? If you are like this, what would that be? Like, that would be
I give up.
I give up, or depressed. And usually it's shallow breathing, and oftentimes not balanced breathing. As opposed to chest slightly up, the heart up, leading with the heart. Yoga, leading with the heart. Chest up, shoulders back and down. Exercising these two little muscles on the side of your face. And there's a research study that my yoga teacher told me about. And he said, if you look at the mirror and smile for 5 minutes, once or twice a day, it will cure depression. And I have a client that I work with who had depression for 40 years. And when he remembers to do it, he's got a good week. But then he forgets, and then he doesn't do it. But it works. It's impossible to stay like this and smile. And so the physical form and the structure and the consciousness, you can't be walking around like this and really be depressed. Even if you're faking it. Not when you're breathing fully. It's impossible. Maybe if you're a really, really, really good actor for a short period of time. I don't know. So physical health, physical vitality, even your breath and your breathing can impact your intuition. And the first step of, when I used to do the radio show in Los Angeles, the good news was when I would get people off the street, and when I say that, the new people that are just starting to take classes and just starting to wake up, I could get people through a 10-week course, and at the end they could do psychic readings. I did work with the police department and the sheriff's department. And we had some really high-end things that we were doing, not necessarily for money, but some really important work. And I could get some of my students helping with some of the cases, and they would be accurate. And it's not that hard to develop intuition on a very accurate basis if you found the foundational steps. But a lot of people would come from other classes. They were born with the ability. They never really trained themselves. They had classes here and there, and they could do certain things, but they weren't really grounded all the time, or they weren't specifically accurate. And when I'd say, let's do this class, first exercise, we would take a piece of paper, and you could all do this, and you draw a line, and you write, you watch. So I would watch and feel my pen make a square. And I would watch the line very, very carefully, just total focus. And I would feel the pen, just really pay attention to every little aspect of what you're doing with your eyes opened. And then you do it with your eyes closed. And you imagine seeing the line and feeling and watching the line. And you do it eyes open, eyes closed, eyes open, eyes closed, eyes open, eyes closed. And then a triangle, eyes open, eyes closed, eyes open, eyes closed. And then a circle, eyes open. Okay, so you do one of those rows of each every day for a week. Open, close, and really pay attention. What happens at the end of 7 days is you've trained your subconscious mind and to say, this is what visualization looks like. Because a lot of people go, well, I can't really visualize. Well, okay, then don't use that word, use imagination. Can you imagine? Well, okay. But wouldn't it be nice if you could visualize like 20th Century Fox Presents? So you've never been taught. And so this is a way of training your subconscious, because your hand movement has to be connected with your subconscious brain. So to engage the brain engages the subconscious. So by starting to train eyes open, and you see what the line looks like, and then close your eyes and you imagine seeing, and you're not quite sure you get it. So you open your eyes and you actually see it. And then you close your eyes, and that's what it's supposed to look like. So you're teaching yourself this is what it's supposed to look like, both with physical and you see the visual. And then the next week, we go, okay, let's do partners. I'm going to send, on Monday, I'm going to send you either a square, a circle, a triangle with a different color, and you're going to be receptive. We're going to do telepathy. And we're going to teach you how to do telepathy. One day I'll send to you, the next day you send to me. The next day I send to you, the next day you send to me. At the end of the week we compare. And it's interesting what happens, but it's also interesting that the level of accuracy is not so good, because the key to telepathy is telepathos, telesending, pathos, feeling. The stronger the feeling, the stronger the wave of energy that you're sending out, the more likelihood the person is going to receive it. Now, it's not that easy to get excited about, I'm sending you a red square. as opposed to I'm sending you a crisp red apple or a red sloppy tomato as I'm biting into it, squishing all over. At least you can add some emotion to that. And so we start playing around with adding emotions and what waves of energy are and how to clear your filters and what those filters are, what the aura actually is. What the aura actually is a, and so do that exercise. Do that exercise. You will only increase your capacity to receive and send and visualize. And when you can do that, dreams might start coming back more accurately, more fully. Who knows what could happen when you do these with intention to develop your intuition. Another easy exercise, rub your hands together, very heavy, strong, feel heat and friction, hot, 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 press, press, hard, hard, and breathe and stop about an inch apart. And do what I call silent applause. Don't touch, but come very close. And do it one more time. Just press really hard, create a lot of heat and friction. And relax your hands in about an inch apart and feel. And do little flutteries, maybe even with your eyes closed, and far apart and together, far apart and together. And what do you experience with that? Anybody?
As you get closer, you get some
Energy? Resistance?
Yeah.
Feel something? Okay. Stand up and find a partner. And may I use you, Suzanne? Okay, and so you do that again, and then in patty cake without touching, like this. Feel that? Yeah. And see how far apart you can get. Everybody do it, please. Yeah. Excellent.
I feel your hand.
And switch partners.
Strings.
I can do this before myself. I can move.
Oh, of course. Yes. Oh, that
Kind of elastic.
really cool. She her friend at the DC meeting. She didn't want to go, but her friend was afraid. She said, "Well, if you're afraid, I'll go with you." Thank you. I'll mention that. Okay. Thank you. Did you switch partners?